Expos for video gaming. You've heard about them, you've seen videos about them, a few of you have attended them, and I'm sure even if you're not there, you can probably smell their BO 5 miles away. And there's plenty of them for all different factions, some for music, some for the mainstream crowd, some for specific big, larger, non-indie games, such as BlizzCon and... moving on. But besides a lot of those conventions that usually have a smaller portion of independent video games to offer, there's one that's exclusive to indie gaming besides GDC. You've probably seen me mention this festival a couple times in other videos, but now it's time to fully spotlight IndieCade. IndieCade is a big Los Angeles-based festival dedicated to independent gaming and entertainment from all around the world. And not just video gaming in the traditional sense. There's the Big Game Show featuring real-life games such as Humans vs. Zombies and other kind of tag-esque games, which is kind of selling it short. The festival also features a large range of panels from different developers such as Jonathan Blow, Phil Fish, Animatomic, and even John Romero. You might know John Romero, he made that game Doom and Quake that I'm pretty sure only 5 or 6 people played. One really cool thing about IndieCade, and specifically the finalists for this show, is that for the public, it's free. All the finalists were displayed around Culver City, and people walking around could just come in, play the games, and even meet the developers. How cool is that? IndieCade is happening again this year in early October, and they just announced all their finalists. I'll be attending this year's IndieCade again, and to celebrate, I thought I'd share a lot of the games that I got to try out last year and really enjoy. Better late than never! I didn't get a chance to play everything at the festival, like, the KISS controller, and some of these games I've actually talked about before already, like Desktop Dungeons, Skulls of the Shogun, and Antechamber. But enough of me yapping about this, let's get into the games, where I'm yapping about this. You put your basketball into my Paris. You put your Paris into my basketball. Video game! Here's a game that might sound a little strange on paper, even for video games. Can we make a game where the basic mechanics of basketball can be mixed with a platformer? Well, yes, it's definitely been tried before, but not by Bean, aka Michael Molinari. A few indie fans might know his previous work, like Together and But That Was Yesterday. A few free Flash games that were stylistic with some very heartwarming stories to tell. Basketbelle, this venture here, is also very story-driven, but it's much more gameplay mechanic-driven as opposed to Bean's previous work. The game is broken up into 2 sections. Regular basketball, where you're going one-on-one with a standard game of hoops against some kind of weird boss battle, and a section with more traditional platforming with some basketball-esque challenges to fulfill. But telling a story within a game is Bean's speciality, and there's plenty of story here involving a b-ball player who gets his young sister kidnapped. And knowing how emotional his previous games can get, it may get a bit dusty in the room again. At the Cade, I played an early version of this game, and it had a bit of work and a bit of tweaking to do, but it has a lot of great potential and a beautiful art style. The game was released about 2 months ago for just $5 and is available on Desura. I keep finding a lot of great student projects as I traverse the interwebs. This game right here is definitely a highlight out of the lifestyle of ramen noodles and dorms the size of closets. Created by Ty Taylor and Mario Castañeda of the Case Western Reserve University of Cleveland, Ohio, The Bridge is a puzzle platformer with a mechanic I'm sure a few of you are familiar with: world turning. You're this professor here, stuck in a world where you slowly have to turn left and right in order to navigate your way out of each world to the door, while trying to figure out how best to turn the world and avoid the obstacles. I'm sure a few of you indie fans are dashing to your keyboard ready to cry, "And Yet It Moves," and yes, it does remind me of that game. But And Yet It Moves had a small portion of puzzle solving to it and much more of an emphasis on platforming. The Bridge, on the other hand, is much more puzzle-based. The game lets you take your time to figure out just the right angle to position your character or find a clever way in order to dodge the boulders. It has this great attitude and tone towards the player by letting you slowly piece together the puzzles in a very chill environment. And thank God for that, because the puzzles here can be pretty challenging. It took me quite a while to get through one of the first 2 puzzles. It's a game with a great mechanic and a very inventive black and white style. Initially from IndieCade 2011, the game was expected to be released on the PC and Xbox. There's no official word yet on when or where the game will be published, but you can find all the info on their website right here. Really looking forward to this one. One of of the really cool things about IndieCade is that there's so many inventive ways to play these different games. It's not just one or two people with controllers on a laptop or a computer screen or whatever. You can be experimenting with anything on any platform they can hook up, or not needing hookups at all. To say that Black Box Parade is a tablet game would be an understatement. A vast understatement. It's another student project that was all made with a table and homebrew hardware. Check out the controller. It's a plastic jar with the hardware inside. It has to be the most pure homebrew system I've ever seen. How could you not love that? The game itself is a balancing act where you control 3 characters in order to keep the green guys on the table with jazz instruments. Yeah, jazz is what you use to keep the world balanced. Sounds right to me. At times, it can be a tough game, especially if you're playing alone. Getting all the right jazz musicians to keep everybody in line by yourself is tricky, so it's extra fun when you're playing with a group of buddies. I wish I could point you in a good direction of where to play this, but sadly it was made by Hong Kong SCAD, the University of Creative Careers. Their website is here, but I really couldn't find any more info on it. Hopefully it'll make its way next year to IndieCade. Alright, how's this for good timing? At the time of me making this video, Deepak Fights Robots became a free-to-play game through your favorite browser. It used to be a $5 game, but now it's just free to try. The question is, should you play it? Oh yes. Oh hell yes. A few indie fans may already know Tom Sennett from his excellent freeware game Run Man, Race Around the World. Or they might know Tom from him being a very, very funny guy. To show you what I mean, allow me to spotlight his promo he did for Deepak Fights Robots. Go ahead, click on it, I'll wait. I'll be right here, Or you could click on my video twice, give me extra hits, just shameless like that, The game itself is a throwback to classic arcade games such as Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, and especially Bubble Bobble. As Deepak, you have to avoid assorted baddies to collect 3 power pellet-like objects. Then it's super power pellet time to become Super Deepak, going over and beating the Crayola out of your enemies that gave you so much crap. So satisfying. There's a lot of awesome going on in this game. The music, the sense of humor, the control, which by the way doesn't require a gamepad to be played and have fun, and especially the game's design. Which makes sense since it took away IndieCade's Design Award for that year. There's a lot in this game that I can't really get into in this video, but I may come back to in the future. And hey, the link to where you can play it is right here, and it's free. What do you think of that?
It's a game.
For the longest time, after having a headache from watching Up, and even getting motion sick after watching Hugo, I can safely say I'm a cynic when it comes to 3D. More often than not, it gets in the way of enjoying a great flick or a game, and personally I feel it just adds to the ticket price. But then there's the depths to which I sink. You control this snake-like critter on a 3-dimensional plane as he, or she, let's be equal opportunity here, fly through rings, dodge blocks, and explore a big, white, abstract world. It's quite literally impossible to see where the blocks are going and where you're going without using the 3D effects. Part of what makes the game work is the game's attitude towards the player. There's no pressure, no time limit, and only a score counter. The game doesn't really want you to worry how good you are at going through the different rings. It just wants you to soak up the world, enjoy your time with it, soak in the view. I know you can't really tell in this video, but the 3D is really, really neat to watch. Your snake going through a bunch of rings or seeing different things fly out. It did well enough to even win IndieCade's Audience Award for the show. It's definitely one of my favorites from the event, and it's something that really has to be seen in 3D to be believed. And for a 3D hater such as myself, it's quite a feat. Now, since IndieCade, there hasn't been a lot of information given about the depths to which I sink, but after contacting Jim McGinley, one of the creators, he says it's coming along quite nicely with new levels and more refinements. Want to learn more? Why, here's the website. Go find out. Alright, that's the first part of my IndieCade coverage. Tune in next week. That's right, I said next week. For more. There's the email address, there's the Twitter, you know the drill. Thanks, bye.